Linoone is a very unremarkable looking Pokemon. The final evolution of an early game normal type is not something you would expect to have legitimate competitive use, and with its below average stats, even by Gen 3's standards, and the ability Pickup, which has no competitive function at all, Linoone's competitive potential wouldn't seem promising at a glance. Considering all of this, UUBL is a pretty high rank for such a Pokemon. Why would Linoone be so powerful that it isn't allowed in Gen 3 UU? Well, Linoone happens to be blessed with some really excellent moveset options that elevate it to a pretty respectable power level, and some Gen 3 OU players have attempted to make this thing work on competitive teams. The player Vapicuno built an iconic and surprisingly successful team featuring Linoone, and this very team was used by the player Teclis in a tournament game. Representing France in the Retro World Cup, Teclis brought Linoone against the UK team and the formidable foe of Watermess, a very strong Gen 3 player, and got an unexpected victory with this funny Pokemon. Let's take a look at what exactly Linoone can accomplish in Gen 3 competitive. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to help us investigate a newfound discovery about Horsey's former position on the Horse Council, which is now split into two factions, following the recent declaration of civil war. Horsey has received funding and public support from the past paradox form of Gholdengo himself, Old Money, a powerful business mogul and CEO of the Gholdengo Investments Company. Could Horsey have secret ties to this elite inner circle? Perhaps. Thank you. The main reason for Linoone's unexpectedly impressive UUBL ranking is its access to one of the strongest attacking options in the entire game, the coveted Extreme Speed. The only other Pokemon with access to this move are Arcanine, Rayquaza, and the Deoxys forms. The 80 base power priority attack is an absolute blessing in a world where priority is pretty scarce, and Linoone is the only Pokemon with a stab boost on Extreme Speed, since it's a normal type. Linoone also has access to the move Trick, a rare utility option that switches your item with the target's item. This is decent, but with Linoone's lackluster bulk and fairly weak attack stat, this is not a particularly strong way to use the Pokemon. Linoone's real claim to fame is its Belly Drum set. Belly Drum is a boosting move that maximizes your attack stat, granting you the maximum boost of +6 attack, at the cost of halving your HP. This is a difficult move to take advantage of, and often the high cost is not worth it. Belly Drum is sometimes used with the support of Light Screen or Reflect for additional bulk to give yourself that room to boost, and it can be used alongside Speed Pass strategies to ensure that you're actually faster than your enemies after boosting. But Linoone has that fantastic combination of Belly Drum and the strongest priority move in the game. This is a very alluring combo that can turn Linoone into a frightening win condition, without needing any speed boosts to pose a threat, and more than making up for its low base attack. This is what people use Linoone for. But this is still a difficult thing to pull off. Linoone is very frail, and many common Pokemon can KO it easily while it is attempting to boost. Relying only on a normal type attack for your damage output can also be dangerous. Normal resistances and immunities are very common. To pull off an actual sweep in-game with Linoone, it'll need a lot of support. And the player Vapicuno is a prime example of someone who tried to build around Linoone's unique strengths and make it work as a game ender. This team by Vapicuno was built in 2020 and achieved a rating of 1500 at the time. This was much more of an accomplishment back then, as the average ELO rating was significantly lower. This was a Magneton offense team aiming to trade with the enemy as much as possible, eliminate or chip down the key enemies that can stop Linoone, and then provide enough support for Linoone to spend that turn using Belly Drum and sweep from there. This team opens with an unconventional Snorlax lead. With Counter, you can bait an enemy Metagross to hit you with Meteor Mash and get a surprise KO against them as a way to lure and take out a potential Linoone answer. Swampert using Earthquake is another nice counter target that can potentially stop Linoone sweeping. With Self-Destruct and Counter, this Snorlax is clearly aiming to trade with key targets and set up for Linoone. Magneton is obviously necessary here to eliminate Skarmory or Forretress, who could easily stop Linoone from sweeping. Reflect is a nice utility option here to sometimes give Linoone that safety net to boost up. This Salakberry Metagross also fits with the team's trade-based game plan and synergizes with Magneton. Salakberry allows Metagross to boost up its speed when it gets low, giving it more chances to explode on key enemies after getting value from its other attacks. That momentum is more important on a team like this than the healing from leftovers would be. Hidden Power Grass is used as a way to lure in and significantly chip or eliminate Swampert. And Heracross is used here as another threat that synergizes with Magneton and can trade with key targets. The real star of the show, besides Linoone, is Gardevoir. Gardevoir has a unique combination of tools that make it a really complementary partner for Linoone. The most significant is Memento, which is a move that lowers the enemy's attack and special attack by 2 stages before self-fainting your Pokemon. This is a fantastic way to give Linoone a free turn to Belly Drum. The enemy is significantly weakened, and by sacrificing yourself, you can instantly pivot into the Linoone. Gardevoir also has Safeguard, which is a screen effect that grants your team an immunity to status ailments for 5 turns. Another way to ensure a safe turn for Linoone to use Belly Drum, preventing options like Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp from stopping you. Gardevoir also has Reflect for a similar purpose, and even Hypnosis to put an enemy to sleep. This is an inaccurate option with a risk associated, but it can be a good backup plan to help Linoone set up. Gardevoir also has the ability Trace, which can sometimes be used to punish Magneton or Dugtrio by tracing their trap abilities. In some situations, you can get all of your setup moves online against a helpless Magneton or Dugtrio, and then Memento into Linoone for the win. This unique team impressed a lot of top players at the time, so much so that the Gen 3 OU representative for France, Teclis, decided to bring it in an important game in the Retro World Cup tournament. With his team counting on him and the pressure high, he put his faith into Linoone to pull through, and it actually worked. Let's take a look at this legendary tournament game and analyze how Linoone pulled off this monumental win. The entire nation of France is hinging on the success of Linoone right now, can you believe it? Teclis, with his team's progression in the tournament on the line, up against Watermess, a very strong Gen 3 player representing the UK. Teclis has put it all on Linoone. This game was played shortly after the team was initially built in 2020, and I don't think Watermess or many people knew of the team exactly. They may have heard about it, but Teclis is really putting faith in the team right now, and chose to exit turn 1 against that Salamence, playing around a Choice Band Brick Break probably, and now Watermess reveals Metagross, and Teclis desperately needs to get rid of that Metagross. That is something that can check Linoone. Goes back to Snorlax, and Watermess goes back to Metagross, and here's a bait opportunity, and Watermess falls for it. The counter, a many Metagross will be lured into Meteor Mashing there. Usually it's really good for them, but that's the beauty of the Snorlax with counter. It baits that very situation. And now Teclis with a fantastic start. Even considering the critical hit, eliminating Metagross is so good there that Teclis doesn't mind too much. Maneuvering Snorlax in, and drops to Thunderbolt unfortunately, so the crit damage did matter there. It would have been able to at least blow up on this Magneton. Awkward position 2 here because Magneton barely survives that Brick Break. Magneton Mirror, by the way, both teams opting for a Magneton offense. These matchups can be a bit awkward. Both teams not really having something they can trap. Teclis sacrifices his own Magneton, not needing it to eliminate anything in particular, and then knows that Salamence is locked into Brick Break, goes for a Mega Horn on a switch out and nabs a Claydol. Wow, Claydol could have been bulky enough to live extreme speed, so that's a good KO. Bringing in Metagross on the HP Flying, beautiful. Salamence is locked in, and Teclis is going to have to exit. Getting Heracross in once again. Probably was trying to apply pressure to the Melodic, which easily could have come in on the Metagross. Watermess has another switch back into Salamence, but Salamence is getting low, and good Rock Slide, bringing Salamence even lower now. It's well in range of extreme speed. And here is where the Salackberry procs, that probably caught Watermess off guard. And a straight up explosion on the incoming Melodic, and that is huge because Melodic usually has full defense, which would mean that it would withstand the extreme speed, perhaps KO Linoone. And now this is where the fun begins. Teclis has trapped this Magneton and has the easy Memento setup, Safeguard to block Thunder Wave, and Watermess all of a sudden is in shambles. Exiting to Salamence lowers the attack, but because Belly Drum maxes out your attack, that doesn't matter. The Intimidate was erased there. Even if you're -1, it is basically +7 in that instance. It always maximizes your attack. And what an absolute slam dunk. Salamence can Intimidate once, but that is not enough to withstand this onslaught. Not at all. Teclis putting his faith into Linoone, and the nation of France has officially accepted Linoone as one of their citizens, and we have an all-new French Pokemon, folks. Linoone is here. What an incredible victory. And I would like to note, folks, this is a great team that it's the kind of team that works once, and then when your opponent knows about it, they know all the tricks, it becomes way worse. And Linoone is the kind of Pokemon that fits on that type of team, where you are setting up for this sort of gimmicky win condition. It's all about baits and inviting certain interactions to set up for a sweeper that benefits from those interactions with the counter Snorlax, the Gardevoir Memento. That's the kind of way Vapicuno builds teams, is a very interesting approach that kind of breaks the rules of team building. Less about a fundamentally solid structure of Pokemon, more about baiting specific things to happen, leading to a specific win condition. That's the issue with this team, is that now that everyone knows what it does, they're not going to play into it. They might, in fact, Snorlax lead is a telltale sign of this particular team now. Whenever someone sees Snorlax lead, they think of the Linoone team. But regardless, back in 2020, this worked, and it worked well. I think that there's potential for new Linoone teams, just a difficult thing to build with. This is a really hard team to arrive at that requires a very unique way of thinking, and that's the kind of team Linoone will thrive on. So it's not every day that a great Linoone team is going to be built, and even when it is, it'll work once or twice. All the tricks will be revealed. But I encourage you all to give it a go building with Linoone. Maybe you could use something like Memento Wheezing to set up for the Linoone, some other ways to set up, bait Metagross, eliminate Skarmory, take out all the checks for the Linoone win condition. This video topic was the winner of a poll over on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who submitted topics and voted, and congratulations to Robert for having the winning suggestion.